Our last speaker is Karyn, and her evaluator is Gum. Should have remembered. Can you give me her objectives, please?
All right. Good evening once again. The purpose statement for the fourth and final speech today, Karyn, is that the member has to show that she has learned and reviewed basic research methods and present a well-organized, well-researched speech on any topic. You have 5 to 7 minutes. Yes, Gracious.
Please help me welcome Karyn with her speech, The Power of Vulnerability. The Power of Vulnerability, Karyn.
How many of us are comfortable being vulnerable? How about thinking that to be courageous means that you can't ever show weakness? Evening fellow Toastmasters and guests, I'm here to tell you that there is research that shows being vulnerable is being brave. Dr. Brené Brown is a research professor in the University of Houston. She researches vulnerability, shame, and empathy. She has 5 New York Times bestsellers. Her TED Talk is in one of the top 4 viewed, with 35 million views. And recently I listened to her audiobook called The Power of Vulnerability, which draws research from 3 of her books. She spent the last 12 years interviewing thousands of people on shame, vulnerability, and courage. And one of the things that came out of it was that most people are held back by shame and let a fear of vulnerability limit their potential. Over the years and over the interviews that she's had, there was a group of people that stood out from the rest. They were the outliers. She calls them the wholehearted. Her research defines the wholehearted. Wholehearted living is about engaging in our lives from a place of worthiness. It means cultivating the courage, the compassion, and the connection to wake up in the morning and think, no matter what gets done and how much is left undone, I am enough. It's going to bed at night thinking, yes, I am imperfect and vulnerable and sometimes afraid, but that doesn't change the truth that I am worthy of love and belonging. While I wish I could take you through all of the guideposts so we could all learn together how to be living more wholeheartedly, I've picked out a few that would fit within my time allocation that I thought would be great to share. Authenticity and letting go of what people think. Brené talks about her children's school and the one daughter at the PTA says, the one mother at the PTA says, Brené, can you cook some cookies for the bake sale? And Brené's like, yes, of course, which is what we do when we really don't want to do something right. We get that high-pitched tone. So then she goes home and she spews resentment everywhere. Like her daughter comes into the kitchen and she's like, because she's upset because now she's agreed to do something that she didn't want to do and didn't have time to do. So she's got this mantra that she says, choose discomfort over resentment. So when someone asks her to do something, she takes a deep breath. In her head she says, choose discomfort over resentment, choose discomfort over resentment, choose discomfort over resentment. And then she says, you know what, I'm afraid I can't help you this time. Please ask me again. Immediately she has saved herself a lifetime of resentment. Her version of authenticity is letting go of who you think you're supposed to be and being who you actually are. I think we can definitely learn something from this. Setting the right type of boundaries. Self-compassion and letting go of perfectionism. Perfectionism is really, really dangerous. We don't have control of everything. Yes, we want everything to go perfectly. We want to stand up there, we want it to be 100%. But you know what the thing is, if you've tried, that is half the battle done. It doesn't matter if you falter, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake, because at the end of the day, you've taken the courage to step up. Control what you can and embrace what you can't. And the self-compassion is really, really important. We need to not do unto yourself what you would not do unto others. If you think about someone standing up there and being brave, if they falter like I did just now, what do you say? Oh, she got back on that horse. But when it's you go home and you're like, I'm so stupid, I should practice more. We need to practice a bit more self-compassion because we are all only human. We are all doing the best that we can. Gratitude and joy. This one I really love because how scared are we when everything's going well? Petrified. She talks about a movie, and we're watching a movie, and the husband and wife are in the car, kids are in the back, and all of a sudden, they're smiling, they're on their way to grandma's house, and it's amazing, and it's beautiful, and then something happens. First thing that goes through your mind, car crash, they all die. Kids die. Something goes wrong because it's their perfect moment. The whole idea behind this is being allowed to feel joyful. Practicing gratitude. She said in the Wholehearted interviews, there was not one person who described themselves as joyful who also did not actively practice gratitude. So what she does in her family, and I've started in mine, is every night we sit at the dinner table and we say what we're grateful for that day. It can be anything. Grateful that I didn't have an accident, grateful that I've got my family, grateful that I've got food on my table. The last one, creativity, letting go of comparison. Every single person is creative, but we've been shamed in our lives to make us think that we're not. She talks about John, who was really good academically, and all of a sudden, John drew a horse, and his teacher said, "Sure, John, it's a good thing that you're so good academically, because that's the worst horse I've seen in 20 years. It gave a mental block to John where he could not be creative. John is not creative. He applied for a job 10 years later where they asked him to draw something, he just cancelled it. He could not do it. Everyone is creative, and Brene says that it does not become benign. We've all got creativity inside of us. When we don't use that creativity, it becomes rage, grief, shame, and judgment. So pick up a paintbrush, people. Calm and still, letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle. This is something we really need to practice. There's two ways of dealing with anxiety. The one way is that we actually freak out and don't get anything done. Those are your underperformers. The other way is that we become controlling and we just want to take control of everything. Calm people breathe. They ask questions. They assess whether it is worth freaking out. So finally, innovation and creativity are born from vulnerability. Be comfortable being vulnerable. It's okay to fail as long as you tried. Courage is about showing up and being yourself. You are enough. You are worthy of love and belonging. Thank you.
For the fourth and final evaluation, I will be sharing feedback with Karyn as well as with everyone. What a great ending to the evening. Once again, that theme. Actually, before I continue, this theme thing, right? Does it always happen when I stand in front, or because it seems to happen whenever I'm evaluation chair or evaluating? Can we just iron that out quickly? Does it happen when I'm not here?
Yes.
I get one no, one yes.
Average them.
But definitely such a great ending to all the beautiful speeches that we heard today. We certainly learned a lot. Not just from the three, but the way in which you then concluded was just on point. You definitely met the research objective in terms of a well-structured and well-researched topic, right? You were quite well-versed, and you made it known to us that you took time to read about the author and familiarize with the work, such that you knew the crowd that you were going to come and engage. You took us through the different definitions. You got us to understand the concepts of vulnerability within its literal and not so literal sets. And you also gave us quite a few tangible nuggets, so takeaway homes. That's what made it such a nice ending. You know, as we sit here, we can all think about authenticity, we can think about creativity, and think about, you know what, today I just don't feel like baking brownies, and it's okay. That's part of it. And there's strength in vulnerability. I reckon that was also a key pinnacle. The concluding part was that innovation and creativity are born from vulnerability. That was quite powerful. Absolutely enjoyed your smile. You complimented what you were talking about. The worst thing that you can have is a person talking to you about vulnerability and like, well, the thing is, I know it's not going to So the smile, the eye contact, really enjoyed that. You engaged with the crowd with the PowerPoint. I mean, the colors that she had, the design, it was serene. It complemented the conversation. It was not too loud. Your use of hands, this will always be debatable. From where I stand, I reckon it's okay. Because you were making points at certain levels and you complemented with vocal variety. Others, well, like I said, subject to debate. And lastly, the ability for us to relate to your research. The ability for you to relate it as well, just noting that you and your family are starting to implement these nuggets. Shall we all try those nuggets when we get home? That's always a great thing about Toastmasters. You walk out with tangible nuggets. In terms of what to work on / areas of improvement, well, it may have been the chairs, right? So one could also push them aside and use that space, take us through a journey. Secondly, well, you were in the nick of time, 7 minutes and 30 seconds, right? There are quite a lot of pointers to share. I suppose if ever you're going to deliver the speech, we can just notch it down 15 seconds less. And lastly, the presentation itself, consider putting more images and talk to the images instead of talking to the words per se, right? At the end of the day, it will show even more how comfortable you are. So it's more of using presentations as a prop and not as your notepad. All in all, thank you so much. Looking forward to more. And a very warm thank you to everyone who delivered their speech. Always on point, guys. With that, I hand over to Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you.